Hi, I'm Emily from HarperNCo. Today I'm going to show you how to make sweet and chic ice cream cone earrings with resin and vinyl. Yes, they're big, but they're fun. I've been making jewelry since I was 12 years old, and I was looking for a way to incorporate the digital designs that I was doing into making fun earrings. This is another pair that I'm going to show you. I've got another pair in right here. And this is a method that'll work with other things, but I'm going to show you the ice cream cones today. So for example, here is a pair. I did these as a post. I'm going to show you dangles today. These are post earrings, but pencils for a friend that's a teacher. So I am going to show you my process for converting the digital design that I've done into a file that's ready to make into earrings. And don't worry if resin scares you. I'm going to walk you through it, but I'm also going to show you a way to do them without resin. So let's get started. Okay, you will be getting the files ready to cut out on a Cricut or a Silhouette machine of your choice, or whatever cutting machine you have. But I am going to show you in Adobe Illustrator how I go about adjusting a design that I've already done to make these earrings. I'm going to leave the one over here on the right that's a finished version, but I'm going to show you how I get to that. So I'm going to grab the whole thing and I'm going to resize it all to 2 inches. I have done I've done earrings a little bit smaller. I've done like these pencil ones are about 1.5 inches. Depending on the design, they can get a little bit, you can go a little bit smaller, but I decided with the details of the cross hatching on the ice cream cone and the sprinkles on the ice cream itself, I was going to stick with 2 inches. These would be fun for, say, a birthday party, a teacher who's got an ice cream social for their kids, or some kind of fun activity, or if you just really love ice cream. Or as I can think about it, I've got a friend who works in an ice cream shop and she'd probably love a pair like this. Now that I've resized it, the first thing I need to do is make a copy. So I'm going to copy and paste my ice cream cone. The way I do this is with a couple different layers, and so I want to make sure that I've got all the layers set up before I go over to my machine so that everything is the way that I want it. So the first thing I'm going to do is unite everything. And there's you can see the little blue outline where some of the lines didn't completely merge together. So the way I am going to fix that is, the easiest way I'm going to do that is to release the compound path. And then usually if I move it over, I now have all those little bits, and this piece now only has, when I go in, I only have this one stray anchor point to remove. This piece, I'm going to change the color, and I'm going to change it to a gray color because that's going to tell me that it's the back piece. This is the piece that I'm actually going to be cutting out of cardstock. I'm going to move that aside. And then, so in addition to this gray copy, I'm going to make a copy of this and paste it in place. And I am going to change the color of this one to the dark brown. And the reason is that is the first layer of vinyl. I'm going to cut this solid piece out of vinyl. And now what I want to do is come over here. I always like to make copies, so I leave my original alone as in case I need to go back. I'm going to come over here, and I don't need to work with the sprinkles right now, and I don't need to work with, the sprinkles are all grouped together. I don't need to work with the ice cream cone, or the ice cream. What I do need to work with is the ice cream cone. I want the top layer of vinyl to be cut out with the cross hatching in the negative space. So I'm going to select everything, and I am going to divide everything. I'm going to ungroup it, and then I am simply going to delete out the cross hatching. And I'm going to make sure that this is all stays together. I believe it is all one piece. I can check on my layers and I see that it looks like there's two little pieces. I think this piece right here is separate, so I want to go ahead and make this a compound path so that on my machine that definitely cuts out together and I don't have to worry about that little piece floating away. And I am now going to take it and I'm going to line it up over here. Now I'm ready to do the ice cream. And I don't need this part. I don't need this part. Like I said, my sprinkles are all grouped together. So I'm just going to line them up on top of there. And for the purposes of this, we're not cutting it out together, but I do like to get it lined up together. Now that everything is all set, I'm going to grab everything and I am going to put the stroke line on, which 0.1. And I'm going to make my line or my stroke a 0.1. And now this ice cream cone is ready to cut out. Now that everything's cut, I've got two different color schemes going on here. I'm just going to try a pink with purple sprinkles. And personally, because I am a mint chocolate chip fan, I'm going to show you the mint color with black sprinkles to look like chocolate chips. I've got some transfer tape here. I'm going to start by layering everything onto my ice cream cone base. First thing I'm going to do is start with the cone. Remember, we cut the cone away so that the brown shows below, and that's why I did the dark brown for the base. You could have fun with this if you wanted to make it different color, do whatever color you wanted. I chose this kind of golden brown color. And I'm just gonna get that lined up and on there. And then I am going to put the ice cream on. I just keep using the same piece of tape because I find towards the end it makes it even easier, but in the beginning it's a little bit harder. There's lots of tips out there for getting this to line up really well. I just tend to just jump in and do it. And finally, this one's getting the sprinkles, purple sprinkles. Make sure they all stick down. I always have the small things are the hardest to make sure that they stay on my transfer tape. You could do multicolored. You could also use some puff paint on this later. I wanted to do some puff paint and let it dry. Now I am going to repeat that.
things like this to be a great way to use up a lot of my scraps of the vinyl, and I like to use the heavy grip mat when I'm working with really small pieces. Now, you would actually want, for a pair, you actually want to do 4 of these, but I'm going to show you one to start with. We've got one ice cream cone assembled. I'll leave it upside down for this one. I'm going to take my paper ice cream cone. Up. Stuck on there really nicely. Off. And I'm going to repeat the process with the other one. This is going to go on the back side, which is why you need 4 everything. I have done this just putting the vinyl to vinyl, but I found a piece of cardstock made it a lot easier to assemble. So I am now going to repeat the process on another set in another color.
For this color option, I have cut my sprinkles out of 4 colors, and I'm going to be applying it to a kind of a vanilla colored ice cream. Just simply using the hook enables me to spread the sprinkles wherever they go, and I kind of like this option because sprinkles fall wherever they fall, and so this is the most natural looking way to make the ice cream cones. And as you can see, I just use the hook and I go around with each of the different colors until I get about an even number on each side, and I am happy with the results.
All my ice cream cones are ready with vinyl on both sides. I am going to coat them with resin. This resin, and I use my phone stand to let it slowly move to the top. And you don't want to shake resin. I like to cut a fine tip, and I usually use one of these silicone brushes in my other hand. And you can start using a very fine one and kind of outline it like you would with icing, or I have one of those, except the problem that I find with them where I really like it, looks like this, where I really like it is, even though this tip is supposed to stay covered so you can reuse it, they're kind of like single use. So unless I'm going to be doing a lot, I tend to not use them too often, or if I'm going to do something even smaller than this, then I would use it. I like to work on a silicone mat and then use the silicone tip to just kind of, between the 2 silicone tips, one to hold in place and one to kind of get the silicone to flow. It flows a little bit on its own, but to get closer to the edge of the each piece, the edge of my ice cream cone. Now with resin, you don't want to shake it because that will cause bubbles. And that's why I use my phone holder to hold it in a downward angle here. Kind of see it, it's out of the shot a little bit, but holds it in a downward angle so I'm not flipping the bottle up and down. That was a little tip I kind of came up with because I realized that the more I was moving the bottle around, the more air bubbles I was getting in my resin. But we have a few tips to get rid of bubbles also. So I'm going to get that, and I know it's not easy to see on camera. There are some itsy bitsy tiny bubbles. This does take a little bit of patience and a few minutes to do, but I think it's worth it. This time I'm going to go ahead and put it on all of them because this resin is not going to dry without, this is UV resin, so it's going to use the UV light that I have next to it. And it doubles as a nail, doubles for doing my nails. When I bought the original UV kit to start with, it came with a very small, or resin, UV resin kit, it came with a very small UV light, and it served its purpose for me for doing small things, and as I started to do a little bit more, I went ahead and got a bigger light for bigger pieces, or for doing more pieces at the same time. And if it drops off, that's why you've got the silicone mat underneath it. And I will show you how to fix anything that drips off also. But the silicone brushes just work really well to move the resin to the edge. Of the piece. If you have the little skinny tip resin bottles, you can kind of outline it and then flood it, kind of like if you were doing icing on cookies. And outline the cookies with icing and then flood it with the rest of the icing. It's a similar concept. One thing I don't want to do is I don't want them touching. I want to make sure I have enough space between each one of these pieces. Can't really tell on camera, but I can see that there is an itsy bitsy tiny air bubble there. And there might actually be other air bubbles that I can't see. How to clean off the resin. It'll harden and peel off, but I can sometimes just clean it off with a paper towel that I can throw out. So I'm going to use just a lighter. I personally like this kind that bends. And if I hold it over top, one, I can see air bubbles, but usually when I do this is when I see them pop. There's a couple little ones. If I hold flame near, they come to the top and they pop. And one thing that the lighter over top showed me is that I want to come a little bit farther over on this edge here. I could see that I was not as close to the edge as I would like to be. There's a small bubble there that must be deeper because it does not want to come up. So I'm going to see if I can move it. Get my silicone tip there. Okay, that actually brought it forward more, closer to the top. And they popped as soon as I put the lighter on them. All right, now they are ready, and I am going to put this over top. My cord is caught. I like to just leave the mat in place and do the longest length. I personally like to run it at least twice until it's not tacky. Okay, the resin has, the UV light has done its job. I realized in trying to move it, I wasn't paying attention. I actually like to use the 60-second one, not this low heat one. If you use a similar one, I like the 60-second one, and I do it 2 to 3 times. I would say if you are new to resin, I would experiment a couple times to make sure that you get it right. Now, everything is done and it looks pretty good. It's not tacky when I touch it, which is, that's why I know that I like to run it. I usually do 3 times, in all honesty, I think 2 is enough, but I feel more secure with 3. They do bend up a little bit with the heat, or at least they look like they did. I'm not really sure if they did or not, but what we're going to do now is I'm going to flip them all over, and I'm going to put resin on the back side. Once the resin has had a chance to dry and cure, it's time to do a little finishing up on each of these. I've left this set without any resin on it to show you that you can actually do this without resin. They won't be as firm and as you know, they're definitely more pliable, but you could still make a cute pair of earrings that I don't think they would last nearly as long, but that you could use them for like a special event or something that you wanted some cute, fun earrings, just for something specific would be kind of fun. Now, one of the things that does happen with resin sometimes is, this one's easiest to see, you get a little drip there that came on there. Some of these are large enough, like this one, I can probably just snap, nope, I actually can't. So what I just do is I take a little pair of scissors or a wire cutter and I nip that off. And some of these are, sometimes you get a little drip and other times you don't. And I did happen to get some little drips on this time. Usually use my wire cutters instead of my better pair of scissors. But now I actually do have a tool that this would put a sanding wheel on it. And I like to make jewelry, so I have a lot of different tools specifically for jewelry. And I could use this to sand up the edges, but I want to show you that you actually could do this with just some sandpaper. Anything where there's a rough edge or the resin has dripped, like at the end down here, I want to just give it a little sand with some different levels of sandpaper to sand that down a little bit. You don't want to get it on too much along the finished side, so that it scratches the resin, but enough to get that sharpness off. And then, for example, here I've got a little bit of drips there. I'm going to go right along the edge here, knock them off, give them a little light sanding just so that they're nice and smooth. And this one, I do like to use a finer sand point, and I just like to just make sure that the ends aren't sharp or anything like that. The edges are all nice and smooth and nothing too major has happened. That's okay. I think if you get little bits of drips, you can always use that towards the back. And resin does take a little bit of practice to get used to. I have a little cutting board here, and for the earrings, or for the pairs that I put resin on, I'm going to use this little drill thing. You can use an actual, a regular size drill. Obviously watch your fingers and use the protective eyewear that you need to use. Again, just use a very small tip. Again, because I like to do jewelry, I actually haven't had this, and it really wasn't too expensive, and I used it for a lot of things. I'm actually going to turn this on to the high speed. And I'm going to drill a hole in the top of each of these. Okay. Oh, dust cleaner. Okay, now that I've got holes in each of these, once I have resin in them, on them, the other thing that I can do is just with a small hole punch, see on this one, use the small hole punch here, and just give a hole punch through the top of the ones without resin on them. And now we're ready to put them together into earrings. Now that we're all set, I'm going to show you my preferred way to assemble the earrings. You need some basic tools. I've got some pliers, some wire cutters, some jump rings, and some earring hooks. The first way is to wire wrap the bead and use that as your way to connect the ice cream cone to the earring, with the bead being like a cherry. So to start with that, you're going to take your needle nose pliers about a 1/2 inch down from the end, wrap it around the pliers, and twist. The wire is pliable enough to twist around the end of the wire and around itself, and then I use a angled plier to make sure that it is tight against itself. And then I'm going to add my bead. And I'm going to take my pliers again, about 1/4 inch from the end. I'm going to wrap another piece of, or wrap the wire back again on itself. This particular one has a larger hole, so it's sliding around a little bit, but it won't fall off because of the loops. Cut off the excess. I recognize this is kind of hard to see. And smooth out the ends. Now that I've got my cherry piece made, I'm going to take one of my jump rings, hold it with my angled pliers, and this is a jump ring opener. And I find on the resin coated ones, it is much easier to feed the jump ring through the ice cream cone first, and then through the loop, and then simply close it up. When you open and close jump rings, you want to open them to the side. You don't want to spread jump rings across, because that will distort them, and then they will not hold up as long. And I'm just going to use my pliers to make sure that it is closed. And then on my earring, I'm going to use my pliers to gently open the one side. This one is that way. Now I want to make sure that I'm picking the side that is best to be my front. And when that's the front, I want to hold my earring backwards and drop it on the front so that my front hangs the nicest side, because we're always, I think, with resin about to not always get the best side. And use my pliers to close it up. You can see the reason you want to do both sides is because this is going to dangle and it's going to twist a bit. So the idea is that it will lay mostly front, but it's definitely going to twist side to side. So you want to have both sides done.
I hope you enjoyed making this sweet and chic ice cream cone earrings out of resin and vinyl. Included in your download today is a materials list as well as all 3 versions of the earrings that I made so that you can upload them to your cutting machine and make them yourself. I hope I've also given you some information on how to modify a design that you already have to make earrings of a different type. And if you signed up for the All Access Pass, I have this 3D Shadowbox card with a coordinating ice cream cone on it. And it's all set up so that you can put the earrings inside and give this as a gift, and it's all ready to go. And instructions on how to put the card together are on my YouTube channel. Thanks for joining me.